The Oklahoma Sooners have a roster full of star power coming back in 2026.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase over at Game Time. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire and USA Today Sports. Jay will be back for our Friday episode. Been traveling all week, but he cannot wait to share all of his Oklahoma takes with you. And we will do that on Friday, talking about everything that transpired over the last week and getting you ready for the end of the portal cycle. Not necessarily the end of the signing, but the portal cycle coming to a close on Saturday. Let's start here, though, because the Oklahoma Sooners have a roster that is set to contend. We've talked about it. I've talked about it multiple times this week on different occasions, but just looking at their starting lineup, you're excited about the transfer portal additions of a Trell Harris, a Parker Livingstone, and Marion Harris. You're excited about Hayden Hansen. You're excited about Rocky Beers. You're excited about Cole Sullivan, and for good reason. You should be excited about those guys. But the other part of the excitement for me, as it pertains to the Oklahoma Sooners contending in 2026, also has to do with the guys they've got coming back. Let's just start on the defensive side of the ball. Taylor Wein. That guy could have very well been your MVP of the defense in 2025. When R. Mason Thomas went out with an injury against Tennessee and missed the rest of the regular season, Taylor Wein stepped up. He led the team in sacks. He led the team in tackles for loss. He was the Energizer Bunny, the catalyst for Oklahoma's pass rush, and in a lot of ways for their run defense as well. He was phenomenal. And that was really his first significant run through college football. He didn't really play much before 2025. Now, he had a big offseason where he generated a ton of buzz and created a lot of hype for himself, including from R. Mason Thomas, who called him the potential breakout star at SEC Media Days. But taking what he did in 2025, learning from that in the offseason as he goes back through the tape, continuing to develop his body, make it more better, make it stronger, faster, quicker, leaner, improve his pass rush ability, the technique, all of that stuff. We could see an even better version of Taylor Wein next year. Because typically you look at that and you see, okay, the breakout's happening. Well, he's getting the benefit of a guy like R. Mason Thomas on the other side of the defensive line. And yeah, for a lot of the season, for 2 months of the season, that was true. R. Mason Thomas was on one side, Taylor Wein on the other, and they were both just wrecking offensive lines and wrecking quarterbacks. But he still was productive and he still was very disruptive, even without R. Mason Thomas. And I think that's the part to be really excited about for Oklahoma's defense, in addition to the fact that you're bringing back Jaden Jackson and David Stone. I mean, Jaden Jackson has been a 2-year starter for you. At times out of the lineup, but I mean, he's been a starter for you since he was a true freshman. You're bringing back David Stone, who's going to be a starter for you this year. He played a lot more this year and then, or in 2025, and played really, really well. He's really, really good as a run defender, created a lot of pressure as a pass rusher. And he's somebody to be really, really excited about. Same with Adepoju Adebawore. These are 2 5-star guys that are about to come into their own in 2026. The arrow is pointing up for both of those guys. Then you're bringing back Kip Lewis, presumably. We haven't seen an NFL declaration yet from him. We haven't seen him accept any Senior Bowl invites, any of this stuff. So the assumption is, and I'm not the only one making this assumption, it's pretty broadly spread, is that Kip Lewis will be back. And that's huge because he's one of the best linebackers in college football. You can argue with your mom about the total tackle numbers if you want. That's fine. He is one of the most disruptive and dynamic linebackers that this sport has. As a pass rusher, as a cover person, the ability to pick off passes, take them the distance, to get into passing lanes, to disrupt a quarterback, and his ability to run sideline to sideline and make plays in the run game, just make him the total package. I know Jacob Rodriguez has got all the tackle numbers and all the big stats. That's fine. Kip Lewis plays at a part of a four-man rotation at linebacker at Oklahoma and still is incredibly productive. Incredibly productive. And he's going to be the leader of your defense next year. And he provides that bridge to the future that we keep talking about on this show. Then you talk about, okay, at cornerback, you're bringing back Eli Bowen, who is a true freshman All-American in 2024. You're bringing back Cortland Guillory, who is a true freshman All-American in 2025. Shout out to those guys and the work that they put in their high school careers and when they got on campus at OU to just hit the ground running and take advantage of opportunities to get on the field and stay on the field, because both those guys have been really, really good for Oklahoma in their first 2 years. And then at safety, you got Peyton Bowen coming back, who, if Taylor Wein might have been the MVP for the season, Peyton Bowen might have been the MVP over the final month of the season, because he was very disruptive, made huge plays. That LSU interception at the goal line, the pass deflection at the end of the game against LSU probably saved your season. You had the pass breakup against Alabama on the 4th down. So just came up with play after play after play after play. And it all started kind of in the month of November. Maybe that's a sign that his arrow is still pointing up and he's just about to play the best year of his life in 2026. On the offensive side of the ball, we got John Mateer coming back. I know there's a lot of folks here that aren't necessarily thrilled about that, but here's part of the reason that I'm thrilled. Him combined with Ben Arbuckle provides offensive continuity at offensive coordinator and quarterback for the first time since the 2022-2023 season. It had been a long time. It feels like forever ago that Oklahoma had offensive coordinator continuity and quarterback continuity, and it both came with Dylan Gabriel and Jeff Lebby in the 2022-2023 seasons. You've had some quarterback turnover. You've had some offensive coordinator turnover. The fact that we're going to keep the same two guys year after year, that bodes well for the offense. Jay's talked about it on a number of occasions, the SEC bump, getting that first year under your belt. It's not always smooth sailing, but then you go into year 2 and you get a bit of a bump. We saw Jaden Daniels do it. We saw Joe Burrow do it. We saw Diego Pavia do it. It's been a common theme for quarterbacks coming into the league, needing a year to get their feet wet and then really breaking out in that second year. You also bring back Xavier Robinson. He's been banged up, but he's been really good when he's been on the field. You also bring back Michael Fasusi, Eddie Pierre-Louis, Jake Michla, and Ryan Foje, Heath Ozida as well. Whatever that right guard situation looks like, you're going to get a guy that started at least 6 games for you in the 2025 season. So you're bringing back a lot of offensive line continuity, which is going to be huge for their development. I talked about this a couple of days ago. The physical maturation of the offensive line that's going to take place in this offseason is going to be an impactful part of what happens in 2026. Michael Fasusi and Ryan Foje, those dudes are just, maybe they're going to be 19 this year. There's a big jump that they're going to make as they physically and mentally mature and develop throughout their time at Oklahoma. What we saw in 2025 is just scratching the surface. And the same could be said for Eddie Pierre-Louis and even for Heath Ozida. These are all really young players at Oklahoma, and you're bringing them all back. That wasn't the case 2 years ago from 2023 to 2024. In 2025, you didn't have the depth. You didn't have the experience because you just kept getting banged up along the offensive line. This is all really encouraging right now. And then Isaiah Sategna. This one, to me, is the biggest retention that Oklahoma could possibly make this offseason. Kip Lewis is huge. And Jay and I, we've kind of bandied back and forth about that. And Kip Lewis for the defense. I'll give it up for Kip Lewis, maybe even as it pertains to the entire team. Because if you don't have Kip Lewis, you're pretty much up a creek at linebacker aside from Cole Sullivan. But Isaiah Sategna for the offense might be the most important retention that Jim Nagy and Brent Venables and their staffs have made, because now you have a dynamic threesome at wide receiver with Sategna, who was an all SEC performer, Trell Harris, who was an all ACC performer, and then Parker Livingston, who had a really strong redshirt freshman campaign. That gives John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle, 3 really good wide receivers for them to throw to. But having Isaiah Sategna back in the slot and everything that he was able to do last year, both as a deep threat and then somebody who wins in that short area of the field, dude, that's going to open things up for Trell Harris, for Parker Livingston on the outside. So a lot of what is to be excited, or what we can be excited about for Oklahoma in 2026, has to do with the guys that they're bringing in, because they've really significantly upgraded the offense. They've added some really key pieces on defense, but it's all the guys that they've got coming back, the star power that they've got coming back on both sides of the ball, that's going to help propel this thing back into the college football playoff in 2026. Coming up next, we're going to talk with our guy, Clint Chamblin of Locked On Bulldogs, about Gentry Williams' fit in Kirby Smart's defense, what it means for Gentry, what it means for the Bulldogs, and then just kind of give a brief preview of Oklahoma's first visit all time to Athens to face the Bulldogs in 2026. It'll be on September 26th in their first SEC game of the year come this fall. So make sure you stick around for that coming up in a special Locked On crossover edition of Locked On Sooners and Locked On Bulldogs coming up after the break. There's nothing like college football season, tailgates, packed stadiums, and being right there in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. But actually getting tickets, that part used to be frustrating with long queues, logins, and prices jumping at checkout. And that's why Game Time gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The app is incredibly easy to use. You can go from browsing to buying tickets in just minutes. And the zone deals, they stand out. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save even more. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. He's Clint Chamblin of Locked On Bulldogs. I'm John Williams of Locked On Sooners. And on today's show, we're going to kind of give a brief little look at Oklahoma making their first trip to Athens ever. When it comes time in the 2026 season, that'll be Oklahoma's first SEC game in 2026. That should be quite the road trip. But we're going to start with Gentry Williams going to Georgia, because this was a big move. From our end, Clint, Gentry was one of those players that we always rooted for. We really wanted it to work out, and it just didn't because of the injuries.
Yeah. You know what's really wild to me? It's funny because I'm now getting to see how beloved he was by Oklahoma. This was a very out of nowhere pickup for Georgia. We had a couple of guys hit the portal in the defensive back room. The defensive back room last year was a little suspect at times for Georgia. They gave up a couple big plays, notably against Ole Miss. And so when this came across the wire, I thought to myself, hold on. On paper, this guy looks the part. I mean, the size, speed, the recruiting prowess. You talked about it, from Tulsa, born and bred all the way through. And so when I started looking into it, I can't find anything people talk bad about him from Sooner Nation, save for the injuries.
Yeah. And that's really the only thing, because he was one of those guys that was initially committed to Lincoln Riley back, heading into the 2022 early signing period. The whole coaching change happens, and then he still commits and re-ups with Oklahoma after Brent Venables arrives and bides his time as a true freshman. Didn't play a ton, but got some snaps. But then it was in that 2023 season that you really started to see the potential out of him, because he was playing some really good cornerback. He picked off Quinn Ewers early in that game in the Cotton Bowl that really set the stage for Oklahoma getting an opportunity to win that game. He's got all of the tools to be a really good cornerback, and he even has NFL potential. This is not just a guy that, hey, he was at Oklahoma and it didn't work out because he wasn't good enough or anything like that. It was simply, he tried to make it work. They tried to make it work for whatever reason. Just could not find the right luck, because he's a willing tackler. And anytime that you have shoulder issues, that's going to create some potential risk for you. And
Yeah.
he's always willing to come up and stick his nose in and try to make a tackle. And that's kind of where things just never were able to materialize from the luck standpoint. Cause some of
Yeah.
these injuries, man, it's an unlucky, lucky sort of a situation. And for Gentry, unfortunately, it just came down to that. But he stuck it out, man. He rode hard with
Mhm.
Brent Venables, with Jay Valai, the cornerbacks coach, and with Oklahoma and the defense, and did all the right things, said all the right things, was a leader even when he wasn't available to play, was always, in the building and always on the practice field with these guys and just trying to do what he could to help better the team. It just unfortunately couldn't stay on the field.
Yeah, and when he was on the field, he's kind of had highs and lows, and maybe that some of that is part of the injury concern. He had a stellar game against Texas, notably that interception. Where a couple other times where he was against stiffer competition, he maybe had a lower graded on per play performance. But again, I think he's versatile. If I can understand what Kirby Smart's looking in the secondary, why he comes on in. We had the kid from ECU as well, Riddle, come on over, and he is a bona fide. I said Christopher Smith from a couple of years ago coming in from the ACC All-American coming in Georgia might have that same type of bump where Christopher Smith's now one of the best safeties in the league. I think that Riddle can have that. I look at a guy like Williams. And I guess my question to you is where did Oklahoma use him well? Because I've seen a couple of industry guys call him a safety. He seems a little small for that position, but there is the star position at Georgia that is this dime nickel, what it used to be called back when you and I were playing Madden over on our PlayStation 1s. But now there's this star position. And so what was his bread and butter at Oklahoma? You said willing tackler, that you have to, as a DB at Georgia, there is no way you can't be a willing tackler and play defensive back at Georgia. So where did he really accelerate?
I mean, he played as a left cornerback. He was an outside corner, usually on the left side, the quarterback's front side. And that's where he played well. And he was somebody that was willing to play sticky in coverage, was good in man-to-man. He's a good cover 3 corner, somebody who is a little bit long. He's got some length to him. So, trying to throw over the top of him down the field is not an easy task. Yeah, I mean, every cornerback, especially in the Big 12, there's good quarterbacks, good receivers. In the SEC, good quarterbacks, good receivers. It's hard to play on an island. It's hard to play cover 3 in these leagues because there's so many dynamic players and such good passers that you're going to get beat from time to time. But that's where he was able to do some really good things. And he's somebody that will attack the football. He's not afraid to play aggressive ball. And I think in a Kirby Smart defense, that's going to fit really, really well. And I think what's good here is, okay, he comes to Georgia with maybe not these expectations that he has to be the guy on the outside, where for the last couple of years, the 2023, 2024 season, that was it. I mean, every expectation was he had to step up. We had to have Gentry. Otherwise, our cornerback situation was going to be really, really dire. And even going into 2025, it wasn't quite like that because Eli Bowen was coming back after a really nice true freshman season. But you still felt like you needed Gentry to have some good luck and be able to stay on the field. It turned out that they found another true freshman All-American in Cortland Guillory to where, okay, it wasn't as dire that Gentry wasn't available, but maybe going to a place where the expectations for him to be the lockdown corner aren't as high, that I think he'll just have the opportunity to maybe find a natural fit and be moved around the defense a little bit. And I don't know, man, we're rooting for him to have just a healthy season because I feel like he's got that potential to be a top 100 pick in the NFL draft if he can prove that he stays healthy.
And that's what's so wild. I mean, we did a whole show in the offseason about injuries and how often people think of these guys as the injury bug, quote unquote, and you can't. Well, again, a lot of this is like it's how you recover from it. It's certainly that's the case, and you can re-injure the same thing because it's weaker, and so there's a lot of recovery needed for that. But yeah, as I look at him, he's coming into a pretty dang good situation at Georgia. Ellis Robinson is lockdown number 1 for next year. I think he's one of the most talented DBs we've ever had at Georgia, and I know what that sounds like, Sooner Nation. If you know anything about Georgia's past, like I think the world of that guy. But also on the other side, Dalen Everett, Daniel Harris are now gone. DeMello Jones, a sophomore, is stepping into that role, and we needed veteran presence. Janelle Guerrero goes out from star, and so having a guy that you can kind of play around with on the field and saying, hey, maybe we can you're going to play. Georgia has 3 to 4 corners every single year who play. So he is not coming over to redemption and maybe no. Gentry's going to play. So Sooner Nation, if you're rooting for him, turn into a Georgia game. You will see him on the field where he's out there. But I am excited. Possibly this star position, possibly a cornerback depth. I think he has a real chance within that DB room. And Kirby Smart, that's what he coaches. That's what he loves. It's where he cut his teeth. It's where he played. And he's back there with Glenn Schumann coaching him up. And so we're thrilled for him. It's a big get for us, especially losing a couple guys in the portal. And now all of a sudden we feel really confident with that depth. So I love hearing what he was able to bring to Oklahoma. And maybe this will endear me to Oklahoma Sooner fans. But when you guys came into the SEC, again, Texas and y'all, I was a little nervous. I can say definitively, without a shadow of a doubt, you guys are the far better fan base. And I'm glad you guys are rooting for them. I cannot stand Texas fan base. They're the worst in the entire nation, next to Ohio State. Them and Ohio State are just the same people to me, which is wild. So yes, I'm glad you guys are rooting for it.
I mean, we've seen it for years. Now the whole world's getting to see it, so it's actually kind of great. But no, I'm hoping we always kind of just joked around that somebody needed to create an NIL deal with Tony Stark Industries and create some kind of super soldier, winter soldier shoulder for him. And he'll take off because he is a good dude, great teammate, a leader, does all the right things, works his tail off. And now he just, needs to have a fully healthy season. So we're going to have a great game coming up in 2026. Oklahoma will be making their first trip ever to Athens, Georgia. This just feels like a night game. Probably should be a night game. We're going to talk a little bit about what we should expect from Georgia, from Oklahoma, as there's been a lot of turnover and changes in the transfer portal. But also I'm going to get Clint's opinion on what Oklahoma fans should look forward to making that trip to Athens. Coming up here on Locked On Sooners and Locked On Bulldogs. Again, thanks for making Locked On Bulldogs, Locked On Sooners your first listens every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there for making Locked On your first listen and Locked On, the #1 sports podcast network. So, Clint, let's talk from the Georgia perspective, because the transfer portal we're still kind of in the thick of it. It closes officially on the 16th, though players will still be available to sign after that. What has been the biggest change you've seen in Georgia's roster from the end of the season to now?
Oh, this defense. Kirby Smart saw his defense. 2 years ago, the defense was suspect at best. 2021, 2022, a distant memory. We were getting ran over and ran through in the SEC. Kirby Smart did a couple of things to bring some guys back. Jordan Hall, often injured. He was back. We had a couple of D linemen in that recruiting cycle. Elijah Griffin, who was very, very highly touted, showed out actually, just to let you all know, give you a little advanced scouting, had similar, I'm not saying he is Jalen Carter. I'm just saying he had similar, if not identical, metrics as Jalen Carter their first 2 years or first year each. So had some new guys resurgent, but this defense is markedly better. Amarius Williams from Auburn comes on over, gets edge. That guy has 10 sacks written all over him in Georgia's defense. Big, tall, athletic guy that can move around. Gabe Harris was injured against Ole Miss in the playoff game, and you saw what Trinidad Chambliss was able to do against us when we had no pressure against him. Defensive backs, I think, improved. KJ Bolden stays in. We get, like I said, these 2 safeties, 2 cornerbacks coming on into the transfer portal, as well as a lot of young guys. Georgia had, I think, one of the third youngest roster in the SEC, made the playoff with one. So next year, all of those guys, freshmen or sophomores and juniors, and that's going to be markedly improved. So the defense is going to be better. We lose CJ Allen, who I think was one of the, if not best linebackers in the SEC, but Raylan Wilson comes back. Huge pickup for him to come back, not to go to the draft. And then the drama on the offensive side of the ball. We lose Monroe Freeling. Nate Frazier, Chauncey Bowens comes back. The running back room actually looks better than it did last year. We have all new wide receivers. London Humphreys is our leading receiver coming back. You don't know his name because he wasn't on the field this year much for Georgia. It was Zachariah Branch. It was Dylan Bell. So we're going to have some changeover in the offense, but we've gotten better each year that Mike Bobo has been here since Todd Monken departed. But this defense is going to be Georgia-esque once again next year. And that's probably the biggest changeover. From Georgia's perspective, Oklahoma was one of the stingiest defenses in the entire nation for much of the year. Let it slip out against Alabama, which was kind of baffling to watch. And I'm sure for you, it was equally as baffling. What can we expect? What has been the offseason changeover for Oklahoma?
Yeah, so from the defensive side, we're losing 4 guys along the defensive line that played significant snaps all to the draft. Grayson Halton, R. Mason Thomas, Dominic Williams, Marvin Jones Jr. You're expecting to get back Kip Lewis at linebacker, who's one of the best linebackers in college football. Your secondary is pretty well intact, although you lose Robert Spears-Jennings to the NFL. The biggest deal is offensively. They went all in on improving the offense during the portal to help John Mateer, to get him some weapons. And they've done just that. They added Trell Harris from Virginia. He was an all ACC performer. They added Parker Livingston from Texas, who was just a redshirt freshman and still had 6 touchdowns, over 500 receiving yards in an offense, a Texas offense that was very up and down all year.
Yes.
So Texas fans who want to say Parker Livingston's not that great, let's just consider the offense that he played in was just kind of okay. And he was just a redshirt freshman. So there's that.
Yep.
You also bring in some really good blocking tight ends in Hayden Hanson, Rocky Beers that upgrade the position. You bring in Marion Harris at offensive tackle that helps solidify some of the veteran need that you needed because you lost Babechi Wiwu to the NFL draft at right guard. Marion Harris has that ability to play right tackle, right guard, and he brings a veteran presence because you're young otherwise along the offensive line. With you had 3 freshmen, 2 of them true freshmen, starting a bunch of games for you this year. Everybody's going to be a little bit more experienced. And you're bringing Isaiah Sategna back, who is an all SEC performer. So the offense is going to be significantly better, which is great news because when we go to Athens, September 26th, we're going to be playing a significantly better defense that the Georgia Bulldogs will roll out in very hostile territory. And so that's going to be, very, very key how Oklahoma responds to what Georgia's able to throw at them, because it's going to be tough. And Kirby Smart's going to give Ben Arbuckle all he can handle and more.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's the script for Oklahoma coming into Athens is exactly what happened this last year going into T-Town, Tuscaloosa. You got to get turnovers. You got to capitalize on it. You got to get ahead of it. And this is what, I laugh sometimes because Tennessee, I like you, Tennessee. You're kind of cute. You're kind of fun out there, but you're not going to be taken seriously because they try each and every year to go out to that 14 double 2 possession lead against Georgia. And they go all out in the first quarter because they know we get to the 3rd and 4th and we're not ahead. We are toast. We're done at home. Second half against Kirby. Again, Kirby Smart loses to Ole Miss in the playoff. First time that he had that big of a lead to start the second half and loses in his entire career. So yes, coming into Athens, Oklahoma better have that offensive on point early on. It's early in the season, the first month. And so, yes, it needs to get going. Mateer and company and the running back room that I actually think is pleasantly surprised good, not even have ought be the top guy who I thought he was coming from Cal. So I think there's depth there. Do not give up on the run. If you go one dimensional and John Mateer is the only option, Kirby Smart will eat your lunch. That is where you get in bad shape because this defense is going to be much better for us. So yeah, that's the recipe for Oklahoma to try to make a mount against Georgia at home.
Yeah, you got to be balanced because Georgia is going to be balanced and they're going to take care of the football and they're going to put your defense in a lot of really difficult positions. Like even though your wide receiver core is turning over, you're bringing back the keyest players to your offense. Nate Frazier, you're bringing back your quarterback and Gunnar Stockton, who was really good, who played a lot of big time ball. And not just statistically was he really good, but I felt like he was really good in a lot of clutch situations.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's really wild. The only time, I don't want to bring up the only game the Oklahoma Georgia's played, that Rose Bowl, that still goes down as one of my favorite games ever seen. I know. I said I was sorry before I did it, but it was so, Kirby Smart getting the kick before half, things like that, where now all of a sudden Kirby still has that mentality, but now he has guys like Gunnar Stockton. Carson Beck's still in the national championship game. I get it. And actually, go be great. Carson, go have fun. But even if Carson was back, Gunnar Stockton would have started over him. That's why he's in Miami now. And it's why Miami, by the way, is a very good defense and runs the ball very well. Again, not taking anything away from Carson Beck, but those are the 2 things that Miami does really well. The same thing, but now you have a leader Gunnar Stockton, who that locker room is behind fully. He comes back. He's going to progress in the system. And so if the secondary for Oklahoma is biting up, is trying to cheat up, we got 2 guys, 5-star wide receivers. CJ Wiley is going to cook on the outside. I think this year, I think it's going to be incredible. Sokovia White is a slot guy, not Zachariah Branch. Don't hear me say he's like him and think that's the expectation is not, but that's the skill set he is like. As well as Talon Taylor. They didn't see the field much because it was a loaded wide receiver room. And so, yes, you're right. The front 4, we lose a tackle, but the front 4 are back. Running backs are back. Gunnar Stockton's back. I know this just in the number 1 tight end class for what seems like a decade straight at Georgia. They just keep stacking one after another back there. And so, it's going to be a tall task for Oklahoma defense coming into Athens. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think most people were probably projecting that to be a loss for Oklahoma early in the season because, listen, all due respect to Georgia, because they've earned the right to defend their home field. They've been one of the most consistent programs in college football for a decade. You know, Kirby Smart has won 10 or more games every year except for that COVID year, if I'm right. And maybe his first year.
Very first year.
Yeah. So like there's no coach more consistent than Kirby Smart is right now. And Brent Venables is trying to find that same trajectory, find that same momentum. And Oklahoma is going to have a chance to build off of what they did in 2025. The schedule is favorable other than going to Athens. There's going to be an opportunity there, but that's going to be a big matchup. And it's going to be a good litmus test for both teams. From a fan perspective though, Clint, as Oklahoma fans make that first trip to Athens, what can they expect? Like what are some places they need to keep an eye out for to go eat, restaurants? What's the tailgate situation like?
I'm telling you right now, tailgate situation at Athens is on point. You will find hospitality. I mean, do not think Georgia fan is anything like Tennessee fan or Alabama fan or Florida fan. Okay. Those are not it. You're going to find people that are excited to be there and be tailgating. Tailgate scene is all over the campus. Come to the Classic City. It's going to be amazing. Give yourself the morning to walk through. I'm really hoping early on in this season that College Game Day is there. And like they were last year, was an explosive atmosphere in Athens. And so you're going to find, I mean, everywhere you walk on that campus, go through the arches, see the things, dog fans will bark at you, but smile and nod and move on. And
typically the Boomer Sooner back. Yeah.
I was just going to say, it's going to be great. No, I can honestly tell you that I haven't had one bad experience. Find some queso dip. That's the kind of the underground word on the street in Athens. If you can find some good queso dip, and there's a couple good places for it, just search for it and just find the place that doesn't have a lot of people. You're going to enjoy that time. But honestly, the campus is gorgeous. The atmosphere is electric as you walk into it. And so spend a day, get there the day before, make the drive or make the flight. If you fly into Atlanta, T's and P's to you. I cannot help you. But try to drive in. That'd be the best.
As far as international airports, I kind of like Atlanta though.
I hear you.
It's a pretty good one. And this past summer when I was there for SEC Media Days, I had time and I was just kind of like strolling through and I was going underground, I think. And I came across the big rainforest canopy light up section. And man, it was cool. It was just really cool. And some of the most friendly airport employees that I've ever come across were in Atlanta.
If you get a good day at Atlanta Airport, it's a good day. If you get a bad day, and that TSA line changes on you, and you got to follow the guy all the way around, and the security line changes and closes down, it's a mess. But you're right, it's a pretty good situation.
And maybe it's a little bit different because like a month before I was flying through LAX and that was not a good experience and not an enjoyable time. So
no, you said LA. I say no more.
Exactly. So all right. Hey, it's going to be a fun time, and man, it's going to be a great off season. Make sure you go check out Locked On Bulldogs. Go follow Clint at Dogs Podcast on social media. You can follow me at John9 Williams, and go check out Locked On Sooners wherever you get your podcasts. We're both part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And again, thanks for making Locked On Bulldogs and Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. But until next time, which we'll cross over. We'll have it. We'll probably have to have a big, all four of us here together crossover to get ready for OU.
It's going to collapse when us four get on the stream. By the way, that's going to be electric time. Holy jeez, yes,
it's going to be a great time. Can't wait for it. Clint, always a great time talking to you, man. And y'all go follow him. A reasonable college football analyst. It can be hard to find sometimes, but Clint's one of them. We'll talk to y'all next time. Boomer Sooner and
Go Dogs.